Hello and welcome to the Temple Tankard. I am Jim, aka Archwin, and we are here for a new episode of DM&D here on the Temple Tankard YouTube channels. Folks, we are continuing our class act. This time with monks. So far we don't have a voice for Nans yet, but we're trying to work on that. So,
Yep. Oh, I gotta have
as
voice.
soon as you're there,
I got it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Alrighty, so yay, we're here. Today we're talking about monks. Hadoken. Um, we have got last week we talked about fighters, and monks really kind of fill the same role as fighters. That kind of damage dealer, that in your face or potentially ranged. Um, but they're all about delivering damage. And they can do things they have some very different, distinct style differences from fighters, and some very different survivability aspects that monks. And we'll get into some of those here, how they really differ. We did kind of preview a little bit there, talking about how the Karate Kid was not a monk, but a fighter, because he didn't have all the other monk type abilities. And so, kind of go over what those are here. Now, I will say, I have never really played a monk. Um, I don't think I've actually played one in a game. I have seen one of you played, and I've made a few over the years, but I've never actually gotten a chance to play one. How about you, Nance? Any monks in your wheelhouse?
I have not played one. I have built one, like you said, and I have watched a couple of people, my brother included, build and play one and went, huh, it seems more confusing than it is worth my time. Because at that point, I was all fighter. That's all I wanted to do was fighter.
Yeah. I will say I've run some enemy monks. I've run some monks as villains and such. Um, they can be very pesky in that regard. Set up a lot of very difficult situations for players. So we'll talk a little bit about how monks make some good villains down the road here. Um, but the main thing, again, like I said, monks really are a damage dealer first and foremost. They are a martial character class, and while the fighter is focused on weapons, the monk is the weapon. It's that my hand are registered as lethal weapons kind of thing. The idea that the monk is going to be the one delivering punches, using sometimes some strange looking weapons, if you want to go for more the Eastern aesthetic of type weapons there. But they all can kind of like fit in. A katana really is a similar weapon to a longsword. You just call it a finesse longsword. Um, or even because monks had to be very much dex based. And why monks are dex based is when you think about like martial arts training and watching martial artists in films and everything like that. We'll get into some of those specific ones down the road here. But the idea of delivering a precise strike, it's about acrobatic, athletic ability. Their bodies are honed to the point where they can do things that normal people can't do. And it's usually not a matter of strength, although they are well conditioned athletes in that idea here, but they're really more about precision and movement and acrobatic ability in how they do things, being able to do things with a lot of speed rather than just straight up power. Although we have some ideas of where you can deliver a one punch kind of situation, but it's still, whether you call it dex or strength based monks are kind of odd, and they give up something very, very vital when they do so, and that's armor class. Monks don't wear armor. You don't see monks typically running around in full big armor or anything like that. Now, there are some strange versions of monks I've seen out there that do, but for the most part, they're running around in unarmored, and they get to add their wisdom to their armor class along with their dex. So to really get a high armor class for a monk, you want to be running around in no armor, high wisdom, high dex, and other things that give them a chance to beef up their defensive capabilities. Um, the the whole idea of wisdom for a monk is, when you think about a monk, they're so much focusing on meditation, internal, knowing their bodies, knowing their minds, being able to shrug off things. It's all about honing their mental aspects, and it's not a matter of intelligence; it's a matter of wisdom, that willpower, that intuition that they have. So the wisdom-based idea of an armor class for a monk, imagine a monk is watching their opponent. They're studying their moves. They're seeing their motions. They're predicting where they're going to attack. That's all wisdom. That's all a perception type thing. And it's knowing, it's having that knowledge of where things are going, not as an intelligence, as an academic thing. It's they can sense what's going on and what's going to happen because they've trained and practiced and they know their bodies and they know what they can accomplish with that. So wisdom being that sort of thing there is typical for monks. Um, and dexterity again because of that conditioning, that athletic and acrobatic type conditioning they go through there. While they're not going to be weaklings, they're definitely focused more on like that the agility and dexterity type things. Um, have you run into any bizarre monks?
I had a monk that he would heal, and at the same
Ah,
time, he was like, I believe he called it the way of the drunken master. He was trying to play it off of very much like in Naruto, where the drunken guy dressed all guy, I believe that's his name. I haven't watched Naruto in forever. He would
sure.
punch things, but he did it in a drunken master's type style, where he's very
Okay.
loosey, really goosey, and then would just strike you out of nowhere. But his was, I'm going to strike, heal you, and then also with the other two key points, I guess that's what they use
Mhm.
to go
Yep.
over and continue to beat the snot out of them. And because I've already hit that person for healing, I now get advantage to hit the creature. I don't know how it works
Nice.
exactly, but it was
Uh,
it was really
that's
crazy.
actually with the Way of Mercy.
Okay.
Um, because that's I remember my wife played a Mercy monk in a one shot that you ran way back. Um, the little old lady witch that could punch people and heal them. Um,
She was fun. I liked playing with
yeah.
her. It was a lot of
Yes.
fun.
Yes. And that was a fun character to conceive of too, because the idea of someone just like walking up and using their ki, their chi, whatever you want to call it, their energy, to
Mhm.
touch someone or punch them and it repairs the damage and then turn around and smack somebody else and it damages them even more. um it's a very fun concept there, and very much that sort of that old master vibe of some of the martial arts maneuvers of like, I'm going to go up walk up to you and do this thing and twist your ear and tap you here and punch you over here, and suddenly your body's going to lock up and you can't do anything.
Right.
That's sort of a stunning strike kind of thing. But also, I'm going to do this, and this, and suddenly you're cured of whatever's causing problems for you. Um, that redirecting the energy in the body to do different things like that. Again, such a very much a martial that classic martial artist type of like of scenario going on here. Um, so there are a lot of variations of monk, but the basics obviously revolve around martial arts. Their basic abilities of being able to ignore the stillness of mind, being able to ignore charmed and frightened conditions, the purity of body, being able to ignore diseases and poisons, because their bodies and their minds become so focused and so calm or under their own control that they can't be overtaken by these things. They also have explosive movement potential, the step of the wind. They just get faster because they don't have any. They're not wearing armor. They're just trained in moving faster. Um, then of course their key, the energy they use to do amazing things, usually by way of their subclass, but there's always things they can do like um being able to do a flurry of blows and be able to focus on their defense and things like that, and be able to move faster suddenly, um being able to deflect missiles out of the air, catch them, even eventually throw them back. Anytime you see that in the movie there, it's very much of a monk thing to do. Being able to ignore fall damage because they can just roll as they hit the ground there and pop up to their feet, or use the wall and falling next to to sort of like slow their movement and end up on their feet and take no damage. All very much classic martial art things you see in movies, in anime. Um, and so it's kind of reflected in the monk class
Mhm.
and any other sort of like martial arts things. You know, talking to I'm playing. I played a martial arts character based in Hero system a while back. One of my first characters I ever played. I wanted to play a shape changing martial artist, and it was not a good character. But the idea of having like a set of attacks that all use different sort of martial arts strikes and kicks and punches, um, and just sort of do that there. The idea of being able to use my power in different ways and different martial arts techniques to do things like that is very central to how monks work in almost any system you work in. Had you run into monks in other? Uh, you played Shadowrun.
I did.
Uh, anyone there do physical adepts?
I think I started as a physical adept and went, nope, this
Mhm.
is not for me. It is because
It's a tough class.
it
Yeah.
is. So like, I'm very much into the I'm going to be able to heal you, or I'm the utilitarian type class. That is what I like playing. I like making it other players have more things to do or do them better. That is the support role that I love playing. And
Mhm.
I couldn't really find that in Shadowrun until I moved. So I went to physical adept thinking, I could help beat things up. And it turns out I was better at being a summoner.
Yep.
So I just summoned the thing to go explode. And I roll really well with D6 dice. So, you know, I get
Yeah.
really powerful things, but like, no, I could not do the physical adept stuff.
Yeah.
Like in video games, I'm very much the person's in your face, fighting you, punching you. But when it comes
Mhm.
to tabletop games, I am more the utilitarian, and I just could not get into that role.
Yeah.
It didn't
Um,
fit well. They're hard to play.
it's interesting because it's a different play style, and depending on how the system works there and what abilities you have there, physical adepts, I will say, in Shadowrun are very hard to start off at the same level as everybody else. Give them a little time to get some abilities, some karma built up.
Hmm.
They can do some incredible things, but at the start, they're much weaker than most of the other party members. It's that they have that build, and eventually physical adepts become utterly gross because they have no limit really. Like samurai, you hit your cap because of cyberware and you're done. You can tweak it a little bit here and there from that, but you kind of reach that level and you can't do much more beyond that.
Hmm.
Um, a physical adept, they can just keep getting better and better and better, and to the point where a high level physical adept in Shadowrun is a monster. Um, so, but again, it's that way a little bit in D&D too. With monks, low level monks can't quite do as much as other characters of the same level until they get to the point where they're getting more abilities. They're the first and second level of a monk there. Their flurry of blows only does D4 damage, and yes, they can make multiple attacks, which other classes can't do necessarily, but it's not very high damage. So the monks again, they have that build up, and they get better and better and better as they go. And once they get into their their class archetypes and stuff, that's when they get to some crazy things. Um,
I
so, um, yeah.
I'm looking at Monk in the new 2024 rules, and they get extra attack at level 5.
Mhm.
Most fighter classes get it at level 4, don't they?
Nope. Five.
Is it
It's
really?
very 5, 10. Yeah, levels 5 and 10.
I
Yeah.
thought they got it earlier.
Nope. Nope. They get it at 5.
Hmm.
And I think monks being a martial class, it's coming to all martial classes. They get that rangers, fighters, paladins, barbarians, monks. They all get an extra attack at 5. Um, which yeah, um that is again being that martial based class there, they're going to get those extra attacks, and monks get with the flurry of blows can get even more attacks. And so we'll get into some, like ways to make monks scary down the road here, but let's talk about some specific variations of monks. And those of you in the comments there, I see Dow, you're here. Awesome. Anyone else out there, say hi and throw us some of your favorite monks you've run into or played or want to play someday. I'd love to hear some of your concepts for monk type characters because they are such a crazy varied class. Think of just, I mean, right off the bat, you can just look at Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Mhm.
Though a lot of those characters are monks of some type or other. Um, so it's one of those things of maybe monks. A lot of monks don't have the actual like energy blast they can fire out, but there are some that can. Um, the Way of the Sun Soul has an energy blast. They can actually project energy out in a blast form. Um, there's I think Ascendant Dragon can do a breath weapon because they get dragon abilities. So yeah, there's some really fun ways to go out there. Mercy Monk, background charlatan, wanted to feed the world during famine, named Sweeney Todd. Oh
Mhm.
no. Oh
Mhm.
no.
Mhm.
uh, um,
Yeah, I don't know
I
about
mean,
Sweeney
yeah,
Todd.
a little worried about what they're feeding the during a famine there, but yeah, I get the idea. Oof. Um, but again, of a character who is unassuming. The thing about a monk, it's hard to see them coming. They're not wearing armor. They're not wielding weapons usually. They don't need to. So the monk walks in and suddenly fight breaks out and they're in the mix of it. They don't need to draw a weapon. They don't need to draw any attention there. They're just on you and pummeling you to death. Um, and they can be hard to hit, hard to damage, hard to keep down. So monks can be really scary that way in encounters because a lot of times you have no clue they're there until suddenly you're getting beaten up. Um, some fun ones. We mentioned the Mercy Monk, the idea of the healing monk being able to use their ki and their abilities to help heal their opponents there. And you
Mhm.
mentioned the Mercy Monk there too. The Shadow Monks being able to jump in and out of shadows and be very stealthy, um, very fun, sort of like sneaky type monk. In fact, Shadow Monks, I think are more ninjas than monks. If you want to go that route there. Um, uh, do that. Um, Ascendant Dragon, as I said, they gain dragon powers and can do like draconic type things like a breath weapon or being able to infuse their attacks with elemental abilities, like our friend Esk.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
Esk was a barbarian monk, but he was Ascendant Dragon monk along with Beast Changer Barbarian, I believe, the Way of the Beast Barbarian. So, or Path of the Beast. So a lot of attacks, a lot of extra elemental damage there. Fun ways to go. Astral Self, I don't know much about. It's one of the newer ones. But Drunken Master, I know, and it is a class designed with stunt potential. And what I mean by you don't just like I do this thing. You need to describe it, how you're stumbling into things, how you fall on someone, how you fall back and kick someone by accident. Um, that is such a great like fun class to describe what they're doing because it's so ridiculous. And if you ever get a chance to watch the Jackie Chan Drunken Master movies, it's amazing there. There's an original one, and then Drunken Master 2 is a much more modern kind of retelling there, utterly ridiculous stuff in that thing. And it's just great to watch the crazy things there. So we have a couple more here. Way of the Shadow, criminal background based on John Wick. Absolutely. Although typically monks don't use guns, but that could be something you could work into certain types of monks here. Way of the Kensai monk uses weapons. So fun chance there if you're in a campaign that uses guns. Um,
Um,
I did,
I would argue
yeah.
too that John Wick didn't use guns. They were just an opportunity for him to have them there. he,
I mean, I
he
would say
used
the number of people he
literally
killed was true, but the number of people
everything.
he absolutely, but the number of people he killed with guns was
I mean, this
I
is
mean, he
true,
he
but
could use other things as well, but I mean, like there were a lot of gun deaths on John Wick. But I mentioned before last week with the fighter, a battle master fighter monk combination there with hand crossbows and crossbow expert would be an utterly ridiculous just flurry of death, and just knock the amount of key points and you certainly see key points along with um the maneuver dice. I mean, good luck. It's craziness. Um, So very fun that way. So some other ones here. Four elements monks. They've had some troubles there, but the idea of being able to bring in elemental powers, spell-like effects, and also or actual spells into the monk. I wish they. I think they finally improved that one for this 2024, but I know it was a really
Mm.
difficult one to play in the old version. But Kensai monks, master of weapons. You want a weapon wielding monk? The Kensai is the one for you. Long death. It's the idea of being able to do the nerve strike that builds up and it's sort of a they're obsessed with the mechanics of dying, and so they're almost like necromancer monks, kind of weird, but the idea of the monk being able to deliver like the shadow of death and mastery over death and all this other stuff like that. So it's all kind of creepy there. Where the open hand monk is the actual like the classic monk from way way back to original monks in old school D&D, the quivering palm. The idea of it hits you and at some point within the next day you're going to die. You can't like it's going to kill you down the road. Um,
Skadoosh.
the open, yes, like it's that nerve strike thing there, and essentially the vibrations build up in their body until they fall over dead. Not fun. Sun Soul, this is your fiery blast there. It's your Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha, Kamehameha. Um, and there's a couple other ones that are newer to the list here that I don't really know much about. But there's so many variations of monks. You can do all kinds of crazy things with them. And so I would definitely encourage you to look through some of the different archetypes that are available to monks there because there's some really fun variations. And even with all of that, just describing your actions in a way to the idea of yes, I attack again, I attack again. But the idea of like walking in and saying, okay, I'm going to smack him with my staff, plant my staff on his like jam my staff down on his foot to break his foot while I push myself up in the air, and then kick him twice in the head while I spin around and then land in front of him. That's two attacks and a flurry of blows. That right there is I mean, it's got that flavor, and you can do other things. Like I'm gonna go and jump off the wall, flip over the back there, smack him in the head with my staff while I land over here, smack him across the legs with the staff there, and then punch him while he's on the ground and try to trip him. There's so many fun ways of doing things and describing this as the monk there, and we've seen so much of it in pop culture. There's so much imagery we all have seen in action. Describing that is so fun.
Mm.
So, I anyone playing a monk, I highly recommend describe your actions, describe your stunts, make it fun, make it ridiculous. 'Cause that's the point of a monk. They are ridiculous. So we got another one here. Way of the Open Hand, a sage that studies a dance of many cultures, fighting back against the monastery for the love of a woman, finds his true self, wants to choreograph dance. Ren McCormick of Footloose. I mean, there's a fight scene or two in Footloose. I wouldn't call it much of a monk, but yeah, I mean the idea of incorporating dance. Um, I mean, there we've seen. I mean, if you ever watch capoeira, you're basically breakdancing. So the idea of that kind of like dance maneuvers into your attacks there is a lot of fun. Again, so much style, so much ways of describing what you're going to do. So fun times. Um, if you were like if I put a hand crossbow to your head right now, Nans, pick a monk type to be. What would it be?
Mm. Well, that's a hard one. I would probably pick the way of the open hand.
Yeah.
Turn it around back on you, and just
Yep.
have fun with it.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
we've all seen those videos of the guys who like they have a gun pointed at them and then they turn it around and it's right back at you.
Yep.
Jackie Lee did it. Jackie Lee, that's not the right person. Did it
Jackie
in
Chan.
Rush Hour. Yeah, he did it in Rush Hour.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's that iconic. I'm going to take it, swivel it around, take it from his hand, put it in my hand, and or
Mm-hmm.
do what I would like to do is disarm it and then just punch him in the throat because that would
Oh yeah.
be more fun because now not only are you disarmed, but now you're probably doubled over not being able to breathe.
Dow's just traipsing through pop culture here. Way of the Long Death, entertainer, quiet guy gets even. Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, come on. Napoleon Dynamite wouldn't last a heartbeat in a fight. Yes, good entertainer. Sure, I can't see him being much of a combatant there against anyone there. But I mean, do like the concept there. But again, amongst like you can take so many different like, characters from shows there, and just things that may not be necessarily a monk. Now, again, there is sort of a blurring idea here. The idea of a fighter is much more around I'm good at combat. I hit people, I punch people, I hit him with weapons, I hit him with bows and arrows.
Hmm.
Where the monk, remember, the monk has got that internal presence. They know their bodies. It's much more beyond just the I can hit things, and I can be tough. The monks have, again, that stillness of mind, the evasion, that acrobatic, evasive, explosive movement. That's the kind of things you want to focus on in the idea of a monk, because that's where their strengths lie, is being able to suddenly get in someone's face, being able to dodge out of the way of things, being able to stun someone with just one shot there, with someone suddenly just like reeling from it. Not many classes can really pull that off. Even Battle Master fighters, they don't have a stunning technique. They might have a way to kind of make someone focus differently, or a way to kind of hamper someone, but nobody else has a stunning strike. It's sort of like a one. It's kind of like a little bit like a one turn hold person for if you're playing a wizard type character. But the idea of being able to just pop that off and mess somebody up there and just set them up for some terrible damage with stunning strike.
The way I like
So
to look at monks is they yes they can hit you, but they're so in tune to where you're about to go that they're already 5 steps ahead of you. They're the chess master of the game,
yeah,
and it's not about how hard they hit you; it's where they hit you. They
yeah,
know where all those points are on their body point that like can just shut things down.
yeah,
I'm reminded of Hunter x Hunter, and like they find the opening spot and they just hit him in the shoulder in that soft spot. Now the arm doesn't work.
yep.
It's that stunning strike. The arm just doesn't work for a little bit.
Now, I was on the way home today from work. I was actually thinking about like an ultimate monk type character, and I realized I don't want to do it now. I
Hmm.
want to wait because there's a few other classes involved that we haven't got to yet.
Hmm.
So I want you. I'm gonna put it on you to remind me, and I'll put it to remind myself here. Is that when we get to Rogue,
Hmm.
I'm gonna make the ultimate assassin.
Okay,
Okay. So
I'm going
uh,
to go the opposite way and do a rogue, but the Healy type of rogue.
cool. I've seen those in action too. Yeah, 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 yep.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the idea of um like because the assassin like obviously there are so many different ways that monk uh can do so a lot of damage here. One of the main things, and don't forget, because monks do so many attacks. The idea is at fifth level a monk has a minimum of 4 attacks if they use their bonus action and a key point. They're basically doing 2 attacks plus to flurry of blows for 2, and so 4 attacks, like, and um and again, they're all based on your dexterity. So you typically have a high dexterity. You're going to be able to hit a lot of times with them here. So um, there's a monk variation that involves a couple of other classes. But I will say the main way to get monks to do a lot of damage really fast, and we saw this with Esk, if you have an elemental source of damage, because every attack is to add that damage on top of its normal damage. So it's like literally you're doubling your damage with every single hit. And then if you happen to crit, oh good lord, now you're
Mm.
doing quadruple damage from what a normal punch would be. Now you're doing 4 times that amount on a crit. It's just nuts. So
Imagine
any
hasted.
chance you get, oh, and then you're hasted, and so yeah,
Uh-huh.
oh lord, I mean, yeah, when you can start getting multiple attacks, and then if you happen to have a level of fire and you're action surging on top of it, I mean, action surge in a monk, oh good lord, I mean, Yeah, you're doing easily. I mean, you're doing eight, at least minimum of six attacks at fifth level. Oh,
Yep.
sorry. You would need to be seventh level because you would need two levels of fighter and five levels of monk. So,
Ridiculous.
um,
It's ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, as a
So,
DM, I'm just
uh,
looking at all nightmare on how that would work. I have played with many DMs who said you can play anything you want except a monk because
and,
they are difficult for DMs to pin down.
mhm,
In my humble opinion, it is just have that communication with the player who's playing the monk. Hey, I get it. You want to be the guy who does massive amounts of damage or the guy that's just shutting things down left, right, and front and center. But like please be aware I'm going to send the big bad after you and then another one on top of that. Like I
mhm,
will be targeting you specifically, not to try and kill you, but because there won't be any fun in a fight unless I give you something hard to play with.
yeah. Well, and the fun part there is like, and the monk just goes, "Okay, I'm out of here," and just spends their action, bonus action,
Mhm.
and on with their own movement, and they're moving 120 feet around, and suddenly, good luck. I'll be back in a round or two.
Mhm. Mhm.
Once you're busy with these guys, I'll come back in and finish you off.
Right?
Yeah. So now I love that they roll 20, we roll all their attacks to say things like roundhouse kick, kick belly button, elbow to the groin, uppercut, fist to the kidney. I mean, I love that and one way, but I would say the fun thing is I would change it every time. And like, yes, I'm gonna curb stomp their foot. When they bend over, I'm gonna headbutt them under the chin. I mean, it's like I would never want to limit myself to like a button because everything would be different every single round. But I love the idea that you're thinking along those lines of what can I do differently? It isn't just a punch. It isn't just I hit him with my stick. No, there's much more flair to it. And monks just have the most flair that you can imagine. And and as a DM, I'm going to encourage that. I'm not going to say, "Oh, you need to roll for acrobatics to do that." No, it's not giving you any benefit. You're not going for advantage. You're just doing something cool looking. So I absolutely want them change them for each session. It's so good. It's so good. But I actually want them to do things differently like that, where they're describing things differently. Um, and thinking along those lines of what craziness can I do with this character? Because monks have so much crazy potential. Um, so we mentioned monks and some other systems. I mentioned a hero. Mentioned Shadowrun. But any system you play, fantasy or sci-fi or modern, martial artists are going to be a thing. The idea of being able to punch and kick things, being able to do acrobatic type maneuvers, is in almost every system you're going to play in some aspect or other. So it's the flavor of it. What you can do with your extra abilities, things you have access to, will depend on the system that you're in. But it's the same concept, regardless of where you're at. And it's also so widespread in our pop culture. I mean, we've already mentioned a ton of different things here. I mean, we mentioned John Wick. We mentioned Jackie Chan. We mentioned Red McCormick and Napoleon Dynamite over here.
Mhm.
Uh, but the idea of you cannot look at a selection of movies and not find something that's martial arts in some way. Um, I mean, just the sheer volume that's out there. And almost every single one of those movies, you can make that character as a monk. So there's no shortage of inspiration between anime, between comics, between superhero movies. I mean, Shang-Chi from Marvel, obviously is a monk. Which kind? I don't know exactly. He's got some crazy stuff he can do with his rings and stuff. So it's more like a magic item he's got. So he could probably be like an open hand monk, but with the crazy like extendo reach, and sort of like they can act. The rings can act as a magic item. They can extend his reach and do other things with it. I don't know.
I think
I mean, now you're.
he's more open hand mixed with like a level or two in wizard so he can have mage hand.
I mean, I would just throw a feat at him and just call it get a mage hand as a as a sorcerer. magic initiate sorcerer.
Right.
Give him mage hand as a cantrip, and suddenly you're there. Um, idea is that I mean, mage hand and booming blade, like boom, one booming blade shot, and just like okay. um, so now describe my leap from on table to the other table. Roll acrobatics and explain how well or awful they went based on how I landed the blow. Very improv every time. I mean, the fun thing is that I am very much the opinion of do the cool thing. And the idea of like if you want to describe your action ahead of time and then you happen to roll a one, well, then it's gonna be a hilarious action of what you intend to do to what actually happens. Or the fact that maybe you miss. And the cool thing of like, I'm gonna do this crazy flipping kick coming down on this guy here, and he just like sees it coming, and you have that moment of like block and suddenly it's a freeze frame moment. That's an epic freeze frame moment from every comic book panel, every stop motion thing in a movie where the villain is sitting there cross weapon and shield as your foot is like inches from their face, and you flip away and he sits back there and you both square off again. I mean, all that cool stuff happens, and then you have that moment of like just absolute cinematic coolness. Um, I love to see that doing there. Slap my wrist so I can get a bad rash. I mean, that's the fun thing too. Just like, okay, I'm gonna blow this. Like the idea of doing something crazy or doing something weird, and maybe you plan for something really cool, but you roll the one, and so now he's like, yeah, you end up with a rash because you go to do something and tumble and smack into the wall. Stun yourself for a second there and shake your head and get up again. So much again. I just see monks as such the classic, like cinematic type character. There's so much you can do, and we've all seen him and inspired by this. So don't shy away from it. Lean into it. Have fun with it. Because I mean, if you're playing a monk and you're not describing your crazy kicks and spins and jumps, I don't know why you're playing a monk. You have the opportunity, do it.
I remember there was a movie, the House of the Flying Daggers.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
really good. Very like the whole
Uh-huh.
thing was all monks. Like I don't
Yeah.
even
Oh
remember the
yeah.
storyline. I just remember them
Just
taking bamboo, bending it to its absolute limit, and then flinging themselves across the screen. I'm like,
yep.
that's how monks fly right there. That's how monks fly.
Totally ridiculous. I love that stuff. I mean, anything you can incorporate wire foo like white into your descriptions
Mhm.
of like. I mean, it's like this is perfect. We've all seen so many cool things there. Um, yes, they never wanted to be a monk. Now I have a monk character. I hope to revive many times for many adventures. I agree. Like monks are just so. It's not that I never wanted to play a monk. I just always had other ideas that took precedence. But I have played, like I said, I played a physical adept in Shadowrun. I played a martial arts character in Hero System. I played in now there's a one of my favorite role playing games out there. And I should just run a one shot one of these for you guys here because what the hell? It's Feng Shui. And Feng Shui is just it's 80s action movie role playing game. Every stereotype from every 80s action movie is incorporated here. The maverick cop, the kung fu cop, the magic cop. But then you have like your ghost character, your monster character, your sorcerer, your martial artist, your ninja. All these different characters. It's such a classic thing of mixing and mashing all these things like that. Um, and it's involved like time travel and weird monsters, and it's a fun system to play around in here. But when I played Feng Shui, it actually very much, and especially when I play it with my friends and everything else, the way I've run it is you're encouraged to describe your crazy actions. You never start off with, hey, is there a fire extinguisher on the wall in this room? No. You say, there's a fire extinguisher on this wall here. I'm going to grab it, spray it, and come flying through the mist, smacking a guy in the face with the canister. You never ever ask what's there. It's think about what's reasonably there, and it's there. You want it to be there? Sure. Now, obviously, if it doesn't make sense, I want there to be a horse um in the middle of this school cafeteria. Well, there better be a good reason why that's there. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, sure there is. But if you want to say, hey, there's a bicycle there, and I want to slide over there, grab the bicycle, and smack it across one's face there, well, yeah, the kid could let this bike sitting over against the wall there, sure. Um, so the idea is that like just thinking in that cinematic way, thinking of that way, and for a lot of time, for my friends and I running the game here, we usually give a bonus for doing that. Like we'll actually give you an extra success or a bonus to succeed on it. And then half the fun is when you do blow the roll and it doesn't happen. How do you describe what your intended move? It doesn't how does it go wrong? It's all about making it as fun, things like that. And so I really, really, I mean, like I said, so monks kind of bring that out. It's baked into the class. It's baked into the abilities. So lean into it and have fun with it. Um, and for inspiration, again, watching any anime, there's martial arts involved. Um, Steve Martin, the jerk, becomes a monk. I mean, that's something we've done a lot in Feng Shui of us like I'm gonna take like we always say, who is your character played by? And of course, my one of my favorite all-time characters I played in Feng Shui was Sven the skateboard Viking. He was he based on the dancings Viking in the classic YouTube videos where the guys dance like dancing on the street and was that there is that guy with a titanium skateboard, just an indestructible skateboard, played by Dolph Lundgren. Like that was one of my characters there. And just like and just crazy things like that. I'm just like, how silly can you be? My all-time favorite there was Jimmy the Junkman James. Um, Jimmy James was a everyman hero. An everyman hero get a bonus every time they use an improvised weapon. So I was always encouraged to improvise my attacks no matter what. I used everything you could think of as a weapon with that character. And I always pictured him as a slightly like aesthetically he dressed like Jackie Chan in almost all his movies. He got a bomber jacket or something, a plain clothes or else that, but just sort of generic. I think at one point I described him as Norm Macdonald, like who just would roll up in his tow truck or a garbage truck, whatever else. Like he worked at a junkyard, so I called him the junk man, and I would just grab anything I could to use as a weapon. It was just fun. So, but again, that's something you can do. I mean, the idea of describing a weapon you're using, you don't have to carry a staff. You can just grab something and use it as a weapon. The idea of taking a tavern brawler thing where now you have improvised weapons on top of using flurry of blows and calling that a monk weapon, suddenly you just opens the whole thing of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to grab this chair and smack somebody across the face with it. And then I'm going to punch him and kick him a couple times. Absolutely a great way to describe a fun character. Just you never know what to expect from them. Um, Favorite monk, like favorite from TV movies. When you just like when you think of a monk, there, who pops in your head?
So I don't know his name, but he was the monk from Bulletproof Monk.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. He was also the main character in Kachi Tiger Hidden Dragon.
Yep.
Oh, what's the actor's name?
I want to
Oh my
say
god,
his last name
I
is
own that movie. I own it
usually
on my
right.
shelf in the house there.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, yeah, he's my favorite. Like every time, I mean, we've also got Jackie Chan and all
Oh
the other
yeah,
Bruce Lees. We got those ones, but like my favorite personality wise has got to be
yeah.
him. I want to say his
Oh
last
yeah.
name starts with Lee, Li.
No, it's Chow Yun Fat.
Italian fat. There it is.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Now, obviously Jet Li. I'm a huge fan of Jet Li. So, one of my favorite. We want to watch a classic monk movie. Well, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. It's Forbidden Kingdom. It's the only time Jackie Chan and Jet Li have ever squared off against each other on film,
Hmm.
and it's a very straightforward very straightforward martial arts fantasy action movie kind of that. But I will say that the chance, especially watching the commentary of that fight, the two of them just had so much fun because they'd been around each other forever in the business.
Right.
years and years, decades, but they never actually got a chance to be on camera together and just go to town. And so many times in the commentary for the film there, so many times the director had to call cut because they were moving too fast for the cameras to pick up.
Yeah.
Like they lost track of the action and the camera couldn't keep up with it. They were just all over the place. And so they had to like go down to like quarter speed and do stuff like where they're basically punching and kicking and doing all this crazy stuff and just watching them and they're just smiling the whole time. Even though they're supposed to be seriously in a fight there, these guys like their reactions are genuine. They are smiling the whole time they're fighting because they had such a great time. Oh my gosh, the Pink Panther, Jack Cousteau, Kato. We just that just came up last night. We were watching an anime last night, and guys kept jumping out of the woodwork to attack the main character while he was doing his run. And like I was like, hey, Kato. um, so yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, for me, I mean, Jet Li, Jackie Chan. Uh, I've seen almost every one of their films. Um, I can't even imagine. I own probably 30 movies between the two of them that I've watched. Um, some fun ways of seeing how to reflect these archetypes of monks. I highly recommend some of the ones it's sort of the classic martial arts there. Obviously, you mentioned Drunken Master, great one there. But there's one, it's very silly, but there's one called The Four Hyenas, Jackie Chan movie, where basically he's doing kung fu, animal style kung fu.
Mhm.
And he switches at one point in one of the penultimate scenes, he switches between the different styles as he's fighting. So it's like crane, dragon, tiger.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just seeing him like and the movements he does they're totally different based on the different types of things he does. It makes he makes it a performance, and I will say it's really really fun to watch that. Four Hyenas, also actually Four Hyenas was not animal styles. It was he was going through emotions. Each style was an emotion. I think spiritual kung fu is the one where he does animal styles. Another one fun one there. That one's even more dated. It's a very classic like 80s martial arts movie. Jackie Chan's young. Um,
Hey
but a
Tim,
fun one to check out.
your age
Yeah,
is showing.
I know. I mean, I watched these when I was in college and like afterwards. So I didn't get into martial arts movies until college, and that was after the 80s. But I was watching it. I will say a great movie because the concept of a character, the barbarian monk, of being able to shrug off damage, of raging and using that is a movie called Young Master. And it's a movie where Jackie taps into a fighting style where he just ignores damage. You can't hurt him anymore. Like, and it's like he just flexes and his whole body just like there, and the punches just bounce off of him. And so I picture a barbarian monk raging and using the con and wisdom and dex for their armor class, and suddenly you can't actually damage him anymore. And the main bad guy uses these crazy like nerve pinches and nerve strikes, and suddenly it's like bouncing off of his skin. He can't actually penetrate to hurt him. Um, and just watching him just like utterly go to town on the master. Like he doesn't even. It's not even like he's not even trying to do martial. He's just beating him senseless until the guy is just like broken on the ground there, and then Jackie collapses as his rage runs out.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
uh, very classic version of that sort of that style of monk. So the barbarian monk style is very fun that way.
So I
Um,
got. So what? You've seen Kill Bill?
oh yeah.
Okay. So Bill. I always assumed him not just as an assassin, but I always assumed him as a monk. He's the one that came up
Hmm.
with the technique for stopping the heartbeat.
Hmm.
5 steps and you're dead,
Yep.
right? So like
Yep.
what because he uses samurai sword, what class of monk
Mhm.
would you put him in?
Because of the thing he does there, I would call him an open hand monk because he has a quivering palm, basically, classically. Monk, I mean, a samurai sword is a monk weapon. Katana is a monk weapon, so you could use it as a monk weapon in general for anybody. If you wanted to go more with the bride from Kill Bill, she was more of a Kensai monk because she was a master of the sword.
She was.
So, um, Yeah, so the idea of most samurais, I would put in the class of Kensai monk because they're the ultimate masters of the weapon. They're again their focus, their determination, their skill with the blade. They are focused on that aspect there. But yeah, Bill with that he's doing quivering palm. Literally, it's like you basically do, and then you fall down dead from one strike. Nerve strike thing that he does. So yeah, I would definitely put him in that class of that's the classic open hand technique.
I love
Um,
Kill Bill. Kill Bill was such a great
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Well, I think we're getting close to time here. Again, as much as we haven't played monks, I love them. I love seeing them in action. I need to play them at some point. It's just there's so many other character classes out there to play. But what that brings us to what's next, isn't it? Is Ranger next?
So I am
No, it's Paladin next.
carefully pulling my notebook out so that I can get to it. Um, 'Cause I've written all these down.
I I
I
think it
think
is.
it's Paladin next.
It is Paladin next. Okay,
It
yeah. So we're
is. Yes.
going from the fancy martial artist to the holy warrior. And I know you have a
Favorite
lot of
class.
experience with paladins. I
Love
may
my
way more than I
paladins.
do.
love
Yes.
love
Um,
my paladins. They're so great.
yes. Yes. So we'll have a lot to talk about in terms of paladins and different ways to look at paladins. Because I mean, paladins have gone through a lot of changes.
They
So probably more so than any class. Because originally paladins, they had to be lawful good. They had a strict code of conduct. They had very limited what things they could do. And so it was one of the things we always wanted to try to break out. And at one point around Unearthed Arcana times, when that came out, they started talking about the paladins of other alignments besides lawful good and how they did their thing. And they sort of got away from the whole alignment thing in general and just said paladins follow ideals. And so it would be fun to talk about the different types of paladins, different things we can do with the paladin class and how they stack up with other fighter type things. And they're one of the classes that got changed pretty significantly in 2024 for very good reason.
I
And
I
anyone
mean
and
hold
and
on.
anyone who's been a DM who's had a paladin player knows exactly what I'm talking about. And we'll get into that next time here because good God, paladins are broken the way they used to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
I mean they're
I
awesome, but you can't tell me they're not broken when they can dish
they
out that much damage in one round.
in 2024 worlds, yes, they are a lot more tame, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's not like
Yeah.
they just
They're
went
still
and said,
good. They're still
yeah,
solid.
right,
They can still do they can still, but it's not so much more overpowered
right.
that I mean, when they have all their opportunity, a paladin can unload a stupid amount of damage, and yeah. So
Hmm.
we'll
Hmm.
get into that. And just other ways paladins are a very good time, and the different types of paladins there are. So hopefully you'll join us for that next time here. Hope you enjoyed us talking about the monks today. I know it was a lot of um a lot of pop culture type things, but I mean monks just really just are so common in pop culture. There's so many places to see a monk in various incarnations. So hope you had fun. Always
Oh,
thanks for hanging out with us. What?
nothing. You're good. You're good.
Okay. Um, Thanks for hanging out with us. If you get a chance here, click that like button. Tell your friends about the show. Stop by. Come and see us. Um, in the comments below, in the comments in the video there, feel free to throw in your ideas for monks you've had, or any crazy things you've seen players do with their monks. Love to see that kind of discussion there. So take care, everyone. Have fun. Stop by the tankard again. We'll have a drink for you, and have fun. Take care.
Bye, guys.